All right, so whenever you get into factoring, which is obviously the opposite of multiplying, okay, the first thing you always want to do is look for the GCF. If there's a greatest common factor, you want to pull that out first. Okay, and always check for it, because if there is one, it's going to make your problem a lot easier. Okay. Example number 1. Probably going to have a GCF, right? All right, so for example number 1, we have 10ab cubed minus 15a squared b squared. So you're going to look at both of those terms and see what is the greatest factor that goes into both of them. Not just the numeric part, but also the algebraic part. It has to be the same variable, but what's the largest exponent that would go into each of them? You see it, Dennis? What is it?
5AB.
You are so close. There is 5ab. So a to the first would go in here, and a to the first would go in here. But here we've got a b cubed and a b squared. So we can actually have a b to the what? Squared, b second. Okay, so this is the GCF. And then we write the binomial that's left after you factor out that GCF. So the first term, what's left? 2, right? Because 5 times 2 is 10. Is there an a part? Well, you have a to the first and a to the first. So on this first term, actually, there's no a part, but what about b? B to the first, right? Now, if you multiply 5ab to the second times 2b, you should get 10ab to the third. You got that? Okay. Minus, because there's a minus sign there, the second term. So what would you multiply 5 by to get to the 15? 3. Okay. We have an a to the first here and an a to the second, so we're going to have an a to the first here, and then b squared and b squared, so we're good there. All right. Now let's talk about example number 2. All right, example number 2, we have 2x to the 4th minus 4x cubed plus 8x squared. Is there a GCF?
Yeah.
Yes. What is the greatest factor that goes into all 3 terms?
2x cubed.
2x, well, cubed wouldn't go into that one. So it has to be 2x to the what? Squared. Okay. Then inside those parentheses, we're going to have a trinomial, right? 2x squared goes into 2x to the 4th, just x to the second. Okay, because 2x squared times x squared is 2x to the 4th, right? Okay, what would be the second term? 2x minus 2x. Okay. How about the third term? 4. Okay. Now, inside this parentheses, we have this trinomial. Can we factor this trinomial? Looks like you can. So what would multiply to get positive 4, but add or subtract to get negative 2? So what would multiply to get 4, but add or subtract to get 2? And the answer is nothing. Okay. So this is as factored as we can go. All right. The next one we will be able to factor. Okay. Example number 3. Example number 3, x squared plus 6x plus 9. Is there a GCF? You should look for one, but is there one? No. Okay. Not a GCF. This one is factored if you use the x method. What's going to multiply to get 9, but add or subtract to get 6? 3 and 3, right? Plus 3 and plus 3 since they're both positive. So this is x plus 3 and x plus 3. Or, since these are both the same, you could write it as x plus 3 quantity squared. And it actually follows the pattern that we looked at yesterday, the a plus b quantity squared. Okay, so you can use it backwards when you're factoring. And one of the easiest ways to tell is if this number right here is a perfect square. If it is a perfect square, just check and see, and usually it is. Not always, but a good majority of the time. All right, any questions on example 3? All right, example 4. This one we're going to do a method called grouping. All right, so for example number 4, we've got xy minus 2x plus 5y minus 10. You always want to check and see if you have a GCF. Is there a GCF? No. And it's not a trinomial, right? Trinomials, you can usually say what multiplies to get the last term, what adds or subtracts to get the second term. So the easiest way to tell when you're going to use grouping is if there are 4 terms. Okay, so 4 terms, you're likely going to end up doing the grouping thing. Okay, so we're going to take the first 2 terms, group those 2 together, and then we're going to take the second 2 terms and group those together. With each of those, we want to get the GCF of each. So only look within this first set of parentheses. What's the GCF of these 2 terms? X. So if we factor out that x, what binomial is left in there? Y minus 2. Okay. Then you want to look at the second set of parentheses, our binomial here. Is there a GCF here? 5, right? You see it? So we're going to pull out a 5. And that leaves us with what? Y minus 2. Okay? They write these problems so they turn out pretty perfect. Because notice that this binomial and this binomial are the same. Okay? So then we end up with y minus 2 times x plus 5. All right. Any questions on example number 4? All right. One more example. Example number 5. We're going to use that little slip and slide. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to check and see if there's a GCF. Is there a GCF? No. Now, there isn't one, but usually if there's a leading coefficient, that probably is the GCF. Like if you have a 3 out front, it's likely that it is, okay? But in this case, it's not. So when you don't have a GCF, and you end up with this coefficient out front, we're going to use this slip and slide method. If you look in that Algebra 1 review packet flip book, there's a couple more examples in there. I'm going to do one right here, though, so hopefully you remember it. We're going to take that coefficient of 4, slip it down here, and multiply it by the 25. So we are left with y squared plus 20y plus 25 times 4, which is 100. Okay. Now can we factor this easily? Yes, right? This is a lot easier to factor. What 2 numbers will multiply and get positive 100, add or subtract to get 20. 10, 10, and 10, right? So this factors to y plus 10. And y plus 10. Okay? But now we need to slip this 4, which we multiplied by up here, underneath each of these. Okay? And if you can reduce these, you need to reduce these. Can you reduce 10/4 to what? 5/2. So 5/2. Okay, and then this is the slide part. That 2 slides back out in front of the y. So it's 2y plus 5. And this one should be the same. This will reduce to 5/2, so it's also 2y plus 5. And you can rewrite it like this, 2y plus 5 quantity squared. Because they're the same, right? If you need help with that slip and slide, check out the Algebra 1 Review flipbook or ask me when I'm walking around, okay? I'm going to have you guys start the 4.5 in the book and the factoring worksheet, but like I said, I'm not going to stamp them until Monday when they'll all be done, because you'll get to some problems you're like, I don't know how to do these, okay? So stop there. We'll do those tomorrow.
Is there any way I could get some of these points back without stapling? I thought that I could just use a paper.
It's like here on here,
Alright.
Okay. I will go staple it and I'll give you back after.
Thank you.
Travis, where'd you go? Oh, okay, come back over here. I actually need to figure out some stuff.
Sorry about that. I didn't think it was on.
Don't do it again.
Okay, I will.
Bring your notebook over here because we need to get your stuff organized. Because we need to figure out this. Okay, so pull out whatever you've got for chapter 3 and let's look and see where you're at.
Oh.